From the moment I saw the crime scene, I had a feeling that Matt was the murderer. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what. And he didn't have an alibi for what he was doing at the time of the murder. My thoughts were confirmed by the evidence, of course. The button and the knife. But I'm Matt's manager, so I felt that I had to protect him.
Okay.
This does account for everything.
Well, I am the logical type. We're finally seeing her true self. She is more nervous than a scared rabbit.
Wabbit.
If the defense can find no fault with this testimony, I'm ready to make a ruling. Please keep that in mind as you cross-examine Mr. Wright.
You're always ready to make a ruling.
You're on thin ice at all times, Mr. Wright.
I'm always on the verge of wanting to go to lunch early.
I have been holding my gavel aloft for the past 4 hours, and my arm is killing me.
Looks like somehow everything has swung to the opposite end of the scale again. That just means I have to put my weight into this. Oh man, that can't be. And turn her logic upside down.
What do you mean?
I thought that was an Avenging Disco Godfather reference.
Avenging Disco Godfather?
No. His catchphrase is "put your weight on it." Sorry.
What is Disco Godfather? What is Avenging Disco Godfather?
Oh my God, what's his name? That My Name is Dolomite. That actor.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, he made a bunch of movies, obviously, and one of them is the Avenging. I think the title is the Disco Godfather, or the Avenging Disco Godfather. And there's long scenes of him just dancing in a disco and just saying over and over again, "Put your weight on it, put your weight on it," like over and over again.
Okay, then something tells me that this was not a reference to blaxploitation cinema. Okay, Matt was a murderer.
Would you say that was your intuition speaking to you?
Don't confuse my methods of reasoning with your own. If you want to prove that someone did something, you need 3 things.
Oh, 3 things?
A motive, an opportunity to commit the crime, and finally, decisive evidence. And if you think these 3 things through, the answer becomes quite clear. You should have already known that, Phoenix.
They didn't teach that to... How could they not... Okay, they didn't teach that to us in school, at least not from what I remember. So I went to DeVry for my law degree.
DeVry? Aren't they long dead? I haven't seen
they've been dead for like a decade.
May I continue now?
Good. Matt had to kill Juan no matter what.
So would you say this need came from the press conference?
Yes. Do you know why Juan chose that event and that hotel for that conference? Because that was when he could cause the most damage to the public's beloved Matt and guard.
And you knew of this plan, didn't you, Miss Andrews?
Yes, because I was the one who set up the conference and prepared the costume.
Oh, but I'm sure Mr. On Guard himself didn't know anything about the press conference.
Oh, really? Can you show me any proof that he didn't know about the press conference?
No, you can't prove a negative. Anyway, the important thing here is that this information was not in your testimony.
Yes, I agree. Miss Andrews, please correct your testimony, if you please.
Grasping at straws now, are we, Mr. Wright?
Alright, so that's probably important. I know what his motive was. Oh wait, this is a new line. Okay.
I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right.
Has Mr. On Guard done something to hurt or betray you personally?
Why do you ask?
You were the one who helped Mr. Clarita with his press conference. And that event was supposed to bring down Mr. On Guard, yet you still helped him out. That is confusing.
It is. The person on trial right now is Mr. On Guard, right? What the witness was thinking, helping the victim with his plan, is none of our concern. In any case, it means that the defendant had a motive to kill.
Why do I keep doing this to myself?
He's just one step away from just asking himself, what am I doing with my life?
Why am I a lawyer? I just want to be a jazz musician in a club.
Yeah, no alibi for what he was doing.
But didn't you already testify earlier that Mr. On Guard was taking a nap in his room? Are you telling me now that that too was a lie so you could cover up for Mr. On Guard?
I'm not telling you anything of the sort. When I went to get him for the show, he honestly was sleeping. However, as to whether he was sleeping the entire time, I cannot say. I was too busy sitting up the stage at the time.
I keep trying, but I can find no flaws with what Miss Andrews has said. Can't say the same for some people here in this courtroom, however.
Oh, the judge is glaring straight at me. What?
What?
Oh, I think this is a joke. I think Mia's gonna be like, no, he's staring at you. The judge is glaring straight at Mia.
Okay.
He's glaring at you, smart guy. Wow, you already know everything.
Evidence included the button and the knife.
You can hardly call the knife decisive evidence. The fingerprints on the knife could very well be a clever... Wait, hang on. The fingerprints of the knife could very well be a clever camouflage. Camouflage.
Then what about the button?
The button?
It's clear from the crime scene that the victim and his murderer fought. And during the fight, the killer ripped the button from the Jammin' Ninja's costume.
Talking about this button, correct?
That button was found in the pleats of Matt's Hakama, isn't that correct? I would like to think that makes it very decisive evidence.
Looks like you're outfoxed again, Mr. Wright.
Out. Anyway, the knife doesn't prove a thing.
Okay, they're turning this into a bit.
Yeah, they're doing. Please fix your testimony.
I can't stand the sight of a man who can't gracefully accept his defeat.
Thank goodness Mia can still look at me.
With an icy stare, yes.
She read my mind.
She loves doing that. Well, Maya does it too. Miss Andrews, for Mr. Wright's sake, please add this information to your testimony.
Mine.
Not again.
Mia, not again.
Lalandra, please. We doesn't have to be. No.
How many times is Professor X thrown out of his wheelchair?
I don't know, but it's always good for a gag. During button off during mat fight.
Yeah, mat fight. How do you know that?
Well, the ends of the threads on the button and the costume are
We
matched
went
up.
over this though. I kind of hate how they let us repress this.
They were fought to fit together perfectly, so I heard. Found. I don't know, I said fought.
Oh, because we were talking about mat fight.
Yeah.
Oh, I've heard that before too. But why would Miss Andrews know about this case down to such a fine detail?
Don't look at me like that, just because I'm prepared and you are not.
Arg. And I thought I had her this time for sure. If there's anything to trip her up on, it has to be here. But where and what?
Okay, that's your big clue.
We got 2 amended testimonies.
Yeah. This was one of them. And he
Yeah,
just
the
said, if
button
there's
was-
anything, it's here.
And then there's another one after this one.
But you mean just another statement?
Oh no, I'm sorry. Well, no. What? Go to the beginning. Okay, go to the second one. So that's the first one that changed. I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right. That's a weird one. And then the second one that changed was that
This
button
one.
was torn off of Juan during his fight with Matt. Okay.
Well, let's just press this real quick. Felt the need to protect him.
But what you really did was stab the guy in the back, didn't you? And at the worst possible time.
Who's to say she really stabbed the guy in the back, as you put it?
This witness could have disclosed things about Mr. On Guard at any time. Why then would she wait until there was a large audience before doing so? It's the same reason why Mr. Kurita planned such an elaborate conference. Miss Andrews wanted to cause Mr. On Guard as much damage as she possibly could. The witness bears ill will towards the defendant.
This isn't the Phoenix Wright Wax Philosophical Power Hour. And please, stop slandering the witness.
As I expected, Miss Andrews' testimony seems pretty solid.
Really? Because to me, it sounded a little wishy-washy.
Wishy-washy? Oh, I guess we'll see if I press a little more.
You should know this by now. But you'll need a strong, decisive evidence to make her talk.
Got it, Chief. I'm going to pin you down this time, Miss Andrews.
Alright. I get the feeling it's something about this. Well, wait a minute.
What is
Torn
there
off
about
of
the...
Juan during his fight with Matt.
Is there anything about the fight that was weird? Or like... Because he was choked, right? By
Yeah.
the scarf. So choked by the scarf would imply from behind, right?
Mm-hmm.
Would that mean... I mean, it also doesn't have to, technically. You could technically grab two sides of the scarf and kind of pull. That would be awkward, I guess.
But possible.
Yeah.
Wait, what was the other statement that was changed?
I know what his motive was, but I don't have any way to prove I'm right.
Well, what evidence do we have to provide an answer to these statements?
I don't know. For that statement, I'm not sure. For the button torn off, only thing I can think of is that if he was strangled, it would have been from behind, which makes it weird that the button would have fallen off. Which is kind of a stretch, too, honestly, because like anything could happen in a scuffle, right? So
Yeah.
buttons can fall off for whatever reason.
How about this?
But that's the only thing I can think of.
Let's just try the autopsy here.
Okay.
Looks like it worked.
Okay, so this is the victim's autopsy report. It clearly states the cause of death was strangulation by a scarf.
Okay, they're finally making some hay out of this.
Finally.
Strangulation.
The knife stab to the victim was done after the victim had already died.
And what does that mean?
Let's examine the evidence. This button has the victim's blood on it, which would mean that it was ripped off of the costume when?
After the knife was stabbed into the victim.
Oh, he's talking about order of events more than... Okay. Exactly, which means... it is impossible that this button was torn off during the victim's final struggle.
That makes sense.
Because the victim was strangled to death in that fight. That's right, Miss Andrews. There is no way this button was ripped off during the struggle. This button was consciously pulled off of the victim's already dead body.
Shit.
Order. What is the meaning of this, Wright? So what if the button was torn off the body after the victim had already died? What does that change?
Let me ask you one simple question, Mr. Edgeworth. Why was the button torn off? What purpose did that serve?
What purpose?
We now know this button was not torn off during the fight, so the murderer took the time and effort to purposely rip this from the victim's body. That would mean that the murderer had something in mind, wouldn't it?
Mr. Wright, does this mean you know what the murderer wanted to do with this button? What was it?
End the crime on guard.
I mean, that's basically what we've been saying all this time.
Yeah, the whole time. That's the whole case. There is only one logical reason for doing something like that. It was to pin the crime on Mr. On Guard.
Mm-hmm.
There was no way anyone would put a bloodied button in their own pants. That's right. Mr. On Guard was set up by the real killer, of course.
Right.
They played you like a damn fiddle.
And the real murderer
What?
is...
The real murder
There's
is.
so many typos
Who really
in this version.
died in this case, Mr. Wright?
What is the real murderer of concept?
Juan clearly was not the actual murderer. Well, Mr. Wright, who in the world is the real killer then?
Yeah.
Finally, I can't believe I managed to bring this trial all the way up to this point, despite the fact that I do this every trial.
Phoenix, you can't let your guard down yet. Not until the very end.
The real killer, the person who planned to frame Mr. On Guard, is Maya.
Maya, you bitch.
You fuck.
Well, it was...
Frank Sinatra, you fuck.
That's
Adrian
funny.
Andrews, yeah. Ms. Adrian Andrews.
Oh shit.
I choose you. You are Mr. Kurita's killer.
Wow.
Andrews.
Oh, like a Pokemon reference? What?
Order, Mr. Wright. This is a very grave matter. Do you have any evidence that supports your charge?
Any evidence?
I mean,
All of the evidence points to Miss Andrews.
like, bro, seriously? What? How preposterous. You can't stick any of that on me.
I can't, can I? Would you care to test me?
Then what about this knife?
The knife was used to stab the victim after he had already been strangled to death. It was used to throw suspicion onto Mr. On Guard, naturally. A knife covered in the defendant's fingerprints could only be taken from his room. And the only one who had dinner with him and knew which knife to take was you.
Tisk.
Tisk. Then, what about the button that was found in Matt's Hakama?
This button was removed from the victim's body after he had already died.
Didn't we just say all this?
Yeah, we're
Yeah, we did.
just summarizing the whole thing. The only people who could have done so were the person who found his body or the killer. However, if Mr. On Guard was the real killer, there is no way he would have put such incriminating evidence in his own Hakama. The only person who could have put this button into Mr. On Guard's Hakama is the person who went to wake him from his nap, which is you, yet again, Miss Andrews.
Yeah.
I see. What about the empty guitar case?
That is also another piece of evidence that incriminates Miss Andrews. That costume was used to hide the real killer's identity as they fled the crime scene. Now, who could have known that there was just such a costume inside the guitar case? It could only have been the person who prepared the costume for the victim. And that person is you, Miss Adrian Andrews.
No,
But Miss Andrews' fingerprints were nowhere to be found on the guitar case. It was you who proved that she was not wearing gloves at the time. That's right.
That's because she did not intend on leaving any prints. If anyone had found out that she had touched the case, they would have asked her why. So, to avoid leaving any prints, she used a towel or something else to open it. But the glass of tomato juice is a different story. Miss Andrews purposefully left her fingerprints on the glass to show that, yes, indeed, she was the classic dazed discoverer of a dead body. And to top it all off, there is this photo. A photo of the killer as they exited the scene of the crime. No reasonable person on Earth can believe this nickel samurai is Mr. On Guard. He would be much too short for his own costume if it was him. Speaking of how tall people are, Miss Andrews, you're also kind of short in stature, are you not?
please stop.
Well, how about it, Miss Andrews? I've got her this time.
Miss Andrews?
I refuse to testify.
What was that?
There's a law. It says I can't be forced to testify about something if it can incriminate me.
My God.
Well, yes. You are absolutely correct, Miss Andrews. The law does provide us with a way to avoid self-incrimination. I will say all this without mentioning anything about amendments. By allowing a witness to not testify if the testimony could cause damage to themselves.
In Japan, it might have been an original part of the law instead of amended into the Constitution.
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly. What? There you go. Pleading the fifth is not something most people would think to do on the spot.
Actually, it's a very common thing in Western media.
In real life, it's done constantly.
I plead the fifth.
Actually, thinking back to yesterday in Mr. On Guard's room.
Adrian Andrews. Yes? Think hard about what we just discussed, understood?
Stop whipping yourself.
Alright.
She's thinking.
That's it. That's when Franziska planted this idea into her head like an inception. She must have told Miss Andrews to not testify if things looked bad.
You did a good job proving everything up to this point, Phoenix. But there's still one thing you haven't done.
Something I haven't done?
What's wrong, Wright? Are you finished already? Run out of evidence? What's so humorous, Mr. Edgeworth? I'm sure you realize this as well, Your Honor. But everything the good lawyer here has proven up to this point is meaningless.
Oh, what?
Everything you've proven is circumstantial.
Circumstantial?
Yes, circumstantial. You have yet to provide a single piece of definitive proof.
Lawyers don't care
Proof
about
that Miss Andrews did in fact harbor a wish to murder Mr. Corrida.
So I was once in a jury. It was a criminal case, and the prosecutor explained to me, so there's circumstantial proof and there's like hard evidence, and he said in a court of law, treat both as the same. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then he dismissed me from the jury.
Well, yeah.
He was like, if
Jury
I show
selection is a trip, man.
Yeah.
Because, like, you just see two, like, a prosecutor and defense attorney both asking questions to people, and then, like, this answer sucked. We're not using him.
Yeah. Like, it'll literally be like, he's too poor. He's too black. Like, that's, like, how they do the jury selection.
Yeah.
Because they'll be like, they're poor, so they'll sympathize with the victim. They're black, so they'll sympathize with the victim, etc.
Yeah, basically.
You know,
it's stuff like that.
It's just crazy. But, you know.
I'm telling you, it's a trip.
Yeah.
A jury of your peers.
They literally, the example they showed me for the circumstantial evidence thing was, if I show you a balloon pop, that is like, I forget the exact term, like direct evidence or something.
Uh-huh.
But if I put the balloon under my table, you hear a balloon popping. That is circumstantial because you didn't see it pop. However, in a court of law, you should treat them the same. And I was like, what? All sorts of things could have happened under that table. That's bullshit. You can't do that.
That's also very, like, vague and way too broad a way to apply that, because there are, you know, there's circumstantial evidence that is strong enough to just assume to be the simplest explanation, you know?
Right. You could have circumstantial evidence where it's like, it's completely improbable that it's something else.
Like that balloon popping thing is actually one such example. It's supposed to be presented simply such that, you know, if you see an end result and there doesn't seem to be any other factors in play, then you might as well just assume that the simplest explanation occurred.
Yeah, but then even if it's very improbable, I could never equate it exactly the same as direct evidence, where it's just like, we know for a fact this happened, it's recorded on a camera or something.
Well, within your daily life, you are constantly doing that. It's just when it comes to a law thing.
I know. I just found it really weird. And I was just like, I don't know if I want to do that. And then they dismissed me.
Well, I mean, it was good because that means you got out of jury duty. I was on a jury once. It took 11 days. It sucked.
Oh, man.
Anyway, Miss Andrews, did you want to kill Mr. Corrida? It's fine if you did.
Just tell us. Oh.
I believe this may lead me to incriminate myself, so I will abstain from answering.
But Miss Andrews, we really want you to say something. If you do that, it'll be the same as admitting your guilt, don't you think? What kind of...
is the catch-22 of the Fifth Amendment?
Maybe so, maybe not. There's nothing to prove it either way. Besides, you don't even know what crime I would be guilty of due to my silence.
Oh, very good point. No! She's taking that defiant attitude again.
Man, he's so mad about this.
Mia, what should we do?
Somehow we've landed in the worst possible situation.
I think we've reached a certain conclusion at this point in time. Miss Adrian Andrews has refused to testify, and the defense's theory that she is the actual murderer has not been fully substantiated with solid, definitive proof.
But that's not true.
In this situation, there's only one thing this court can do, and that's to declare recess.
Oh,
God damn it.
That's funny. I thought he was gonna declare a verdict. I need
All we can do is kick this can down the road.
I need to eat lunch.
I request that both the prosecution and the defense look further into this matter. And at tomorrow's trial...
Oh no. Tomorrow? We don't have a tomorrow. We don't get a not guilty verdict today, then... Please, wait, Your Honor. That's not necessary. The trial. Please continue the trial.
What are you sweating for? Your client is getting one more day to live, isn't he?
That's not it. This isn't about that. Edgeworth, I know you know who the real killer is. Please, let the trial continue. If I don't get the verdict, then Maya... Oh, he's saying it out loud. Oh.
But it's impossible to continue as long as the witness refuses to testify. Now then, this court is... It is not impossible for this trial to continue.
You can keep grilling her more.
Mr. Edgeworth, where are you? It's true Miss Andrews holds the right against self-incrimination. However, if the topic of conversation were something unrelated to whatever she may be guilty of, then she has no right to withhold testimony. Yes, that is very true, but... Actually, there's one little thing that I'm curious about. Miss Andrews, when you found the victim's dead body, you poured yourself a glass of juice.
Yes, and?
I can't help but think how unnatural that is. Usually when one finds a body, they're shaken up, not stirring a glass of juice.
Stirring? Oh, I get it. Shaken, not stirring.
007 thing.
Random Bond
So
reference.
my actions were unusual, but I've already...
Before you speak, I want to state that if you have a reason behind your actions, I would like you to testify to that effect.
Testify?
Your Honor, I would like to request that the witness testify again as to what happened when she first discovered the victim's body. Whatever we find out in this testimony should in no way implicate the witness.
I don't know what this is about, I don't know what it is about Edgeworth today, but I can't get a good read off of him. Is he friend or foe? I just don't know.
He's both.
Cotton Eye Joe. Court acknowledges the prosecution's request. Miss Andrews, if you please.